Welcome to Talk Football with Dan and Jesse. It's Wednesday night. Liverpool, last minute winner, boiling the piss of opposition fans. 98th minute. I love it. You gotta love it too. But listen, we're not here just to talk about that. We're here to talk about all the games. Some really good matches. Haaland, back-to-back hat-tricks. How many is he going to score? 50? 60? What's he going to be? It's the world is oyster right now, and he's proven every doubter wrong. Simple as that. Steven Gerrard sacked in the morning. Could be. Could well be. It's looking shaky. They lost 2-1 against Arsenal. They're not looking. I don't know. I don't know. They're not filling me with ultimate amounts of confidence. It's a good result, but against a poor Aston Villa, I expected a little bit more. So we'll have a discussion on that one a little bit later. And then a couple of other matches. Spurs, get a draw. It's not looking great. Chelsea lost. So we'll get into them. So, Jesse, how have you been, mate? How are you? Are you looking forward to your game tomorrow?
I actually am now. Now that Salah did got his last minute.
Oh, dear.
Taking it from my FPL, whilst you guys all absolutely sit me down with my call to not captain Haaland. Trying to play it safe, didn't pay off, but I'll take it. I'm a Liverpool fan for the next day, let's just say. So I'm happy.
Oh my! You were calling us everything in that Discord. You were on the boat at one point. I had you.
The L was too big to take. The L was too big to take. So.
He couldn't take the L. Listen, we're going to get these matches up here. We'll get them discussed. So, would you go with yesterday's matches?
Yeah, just 1 second.
Yeah, we'll get yesterday's games up from yesterday. We'll have a fleet over those games and see what they have to say.
What are they doing here? 1 second. We'll
yeah, no problem, mate. Yeah, he's crying into his FPL here, as you can see.
I figured it out. In the end, we were all right, but it wasn't.
He was all right in the end, yeah. So there wasn't too much about last night's games, to be honest, to get excited about. The biggest one, though, has to be Southampton versus Chelsea. There's a big problem down at Chelsea, do we not think? Something that me and Jesse actually discussed on this channel. If you go back and have a look at our pre-season review on our sort of who's going to do what we expect from them. Chelsea don't look like a team. They don't look like a team at all. They don't look like they have any identity. They don't look like they're going to score goals unless Raheem Sterling can do that. And we all know that he's not a prolific goal scorer. Just everything about Chelsea at the moment is looking really, really poor. So, I mean, I'm concerned about Chelsea. I mean, as a respective, I wish nothing but dreadful things on Chelsea's performances, to be totally honest with you as a Liverpool fan. But they just look I don't know, it looks like there's no ideas. I don't know. What do you make of Chelsea from what you've seen of them? I mean, they're not the most entertaining of teams. But what do you make of them this season?
They look awful, and they look like they need to play a back five. I have a little bit of sympathy for Tuchel in this game because he didn't have James, and he doesn't have Fafani yet. And what's his face out? Chalobah is out. So I don't know what he really could have done. This 4-2-2 is not working, and it's not going to work because he doesn't.
I don't think it works in this league.
Yeah, I mean, like Ralph tried it, and I'm not going to try to compare the two because they have more quality than we do. But also in the 4-2-2, playing Jorginho is a stinker. Yeah, I just don't think there's any way forward. Azpilicueta looked shaky. Obviously, they signed him up for a new 2-year contract, which is something they don't normally do. But obviously, they've had to change of ownership. And you could see in that first goal they conceded, when the ball comes to Azpi, he kicks it straight out of bounds for a corner kick. And then they concede the corner kick, and then they concede the goal. You could tell he doesn't trust Mendy on the ball. I think that's going to be an issue moving forward. You have to be able to trust not your manager, your goalkeeper, to be able to take the ball and be, you know what I mean? Otherwise,
100%. I mean, in the modern game, every goalkeeper has to be able to take the ball to feet. I mean, it's especially in the top half of the table, the goalkeeper has to be able to receive the ball, as readily as any player on the pitch, and Mendy, unfortunately, due to his previous performances and the way that he's unfortunately dealt with that, is I believe that level of trust between defender and goalkeeper is lost. And when it is lost, it breaks down the cohesion between defence and attack. That you need to be able to have that option. And as you say, Azpilicueta didn't have that option in his mind, as in, yeah, I can give it to Mendy. He decides, no, I'm just going to lash it off the pitch. You're instantly giving away possession to the opposition team, putting you at a disadvantage and putting yourself at risk of obviously conceding a goal like they did. So, I mean, this is it now. Fofana's going to come in. He's not going to create any more goals. Gavidol, Gavidol, yeah. That's how you pronounce it. Yeah, he's not.
Yeah.
You know, he's not an attacker. He's not going to be the goal scorer. I'm concerned. 5 games, 0 goals and 0 assists from Mason Mount and Kai Havertz.
Well, you know what I think they do, and I've mentioned this. I think that when they go back to the back 5, which is, I don't think Tuchel has really any reason not to. I think his job is really under pressure right now. I know the Chelsea fans aren't happy with him. I know they're not excited about those signings. And Guardiola is coming in next summer. So if they get him, they're loaning him back to Leipzig. I think that they probably bring in Fofana, play the back 3, and then Asby becomes a bench option, obviously club captain and all that. And then you bring in James to play right wing. I think that fixes a lot creativity, creativity-wise. It will make it so you do have the width. But then I'm looking through this. Loftus-Cheek isn't even supposed to be at the club, really.
Nope.
Jorginho doesn't have the legs. Mount has overperformed. He's a good player, but he isn't worth the hype that they give him. Ziyech isn't supposed to be there. Havertz is a myth, a complete myth. Literally, I just don't even understand. By the way, my upstairs neighbor is like stomping for some reason. So I don't think you can hear that, but it's going to be jarring to me because I hate that. And then Sterling's really their only performing attacker right now. So they're in trouble, man. Like,
they are. I mean, I suppose this is the question. I mean, like, how many more bad performances before we? Well, I know Chelsea fans are already questioning Thomas Tuchel because they are. They absolutely are questioning him. But like, how much longer are they going to go? Like, is missing out on Champions League acceptable this season?
No, and no metric. And I think you'll see
the amount of money they've spent.
I think you'll see Tuchel go sooner rather than later. I mentioned this during the summer. Lots of other people said it. I kind of stole it from them, but it makes sense to me. Just the notion that Tuchel's not Bowley's guy. So why would he keep him around? And I know people are talking about, like, you know, they're spending money. They're spending a lot of money. This is an American owner. You'll know it as a Liverpool fan. I know it as a United fan. Arsenal fans will tell you they will spend, but they'll spend to get you what they deem fit, which is Champions League, which is to get the next little extra bit of cash. And if you have a good enough manager like Klopp to get the most out of these players, then they'll skim off the top there as well. I think that Chelsea fans should set some expectations just to be weary right now. And I do think Tuchel is, I mean, if this keeps going, let's take a look real quick, actually, at their next fixtures, because we could see potentially Tuchel going within the next few weeks. Chelsea against West Ham, London rivalry derby there. It is at Stamford Bridge, but if they lose that, that's massive. If they were to draw or lose against West Ham at Stamford Bridge and then go to Ukraine and get dumped out, not dumped out of the Champions League, obviously, but
it's Zagreb's in Hungary.
Hungary? Oh, I don't know why I thought that was Ukraine. I think it's
it's Dynamo Kiev, and probably what you've got in your mind.
I think, yeah, Kiev. If they were to like get 1 point out of those next 2 games, I could see the trigger being pulled for sure. So.
No, 100%. It's difficult times at the moment for Chelsea, and you know, I've always held this energy, and I know some people came for me when I kind of said about it. Is I don't believe Tuchel is a good league manager at all. I don't think he's a league manager in the slightest. He's the opposite of what Conte is. Conte is a great league manager, but an awful cup manager. The other way around for Tuchel. Tuchel in the Champions League is a different kind of manager. He does great. He's capable of doing it on that stage. So, yeah, it's not great because Southampton is a team. This was the same team who, for me, were and are and still will be relegation fodder this season. I believe they'll be relegated. I don't believe that this result is indicative of them being good. I actually think that this is more of a magnifying glass of how bad Chelsea are at the moment. That's how I feel that this is. I mean, that's the biggest one I'm looking there is that this is the Chelsea team who had 4 shots on target with 70% possession of the ball. I mean, is that 608, 561 passes? They've got the ball. They're passing the ball properly. They're doing everything they need to do. The game is in Chelsea's control, and they still lost the game. They still were unable to create good quality chances and win the match. They have players like Kai Havertz who should not be at the club. It's not worked. I'm sorry, Chelsea fans. I know he scored in the Champions League final, but it's not worked. He is not good enough. It is time to move on. Timo Werner was hounded out of the club for being as effective, if not more. He wasn't worse than Kai Havertz. He just didn't have the same memories as Kai Havertz. So that is an issue. Raheem Sterling is a very good player. Is he going to score 20 goals this season? No, I don't believe he will. I don't believe he's going to score anywhere near that. So concerning times over at Chelsea. So yeah, we'll have a quick look at just the other quick results, just to kind of skim over the top of them. There's not too much to discuss there because unfortunately they weren't the most exciting of matches. Crystal Palace, Brentford 0-0 at half time. This will go down as a good result for Crystal Palace, in my opinion. They will be disappointed by the way that they conceded and be disappointed that this isn't 3 points. But if you looked at this fixture at the start of the season, you looked at this maybe even before the game kicked off, 1 point against Brentford, I would say is a good return. I would be pleased with this at the very least. Or at least I wouldn't be disappointed, shall we say.
Yeah, I think in the context of the game, I remember Brentford having a couple very good opportunities. Crystal Palace, this is kind of the level that I expect these two clubs to set at this moment in time with the level of talent they have. I think Crystal Palace has a little bit more about them, but up top, you can't really count Brentford. I mean, Tony and Embuemo and a couple of the other guys that they have or have either brought in over the past 2 years or had before that look good. So I think that this is about par for course. I think that this is a fair result.
Yeah, 100%, definitely. Yeah, it's not too much more to say there. A little bit less pressure, obviously, on. I don't think there's no pressure added to either manager there. I think they're both pretty much set and sound there, to be totally honest. I think they're fine.
Yeah, disappointed to concede in the 88th minute, but yeah. Besides
that, Zaha was very disappointed in his interview. Really disappointed. Yeah. He did an interview after the match, and he just said, all that hard work and just one moment of switching off. And we dropped 2 points. So he was very disappointed. And rightfully so. It's good to see. Fulham beating Brighton. Brighton are finally conceded goals, not just own goals. This wasn't a great shock and a surprise to me because this is what we've discussed on this channel before. We believe Fulham are going to be very good at home. But we think that this is where they're going to be a team who are going to be, they're going to be tough. They're going to play well. Mitrovic is an incredibly important player to this team. Hugely important. If he is injured, Fulham could be in some serious trouble. Really could be in some serious trouble.
Yeah, without Anthony Robinson at left back, without Mitrovic and Andreas Pereira, this team falls apart.
Yeah,
they don't really have any creative outlet besides Andreas, and he's given the time and space playing for Fulham that he needs to be effective.
Yeah.
And it's been working. Mitrovic, you're seeing the good side of his game, which is when he's able to slow down the play, he is effective. He's a big guy. And he's obviously scoring goals. I don't know how long this will last. I don't think it's going to last. But he's in a purple patch, so I won't say a bad thing about him until that purple patch finally dries up. But yeah,
it's how long that can stay, kind of consistent. Like how long is a player going to be capable of, last season he was electric in the Championship, and we've known this, but we've known in the Premier League, we've known he's been, he hasn't been. We have to go off what we do know, and in the previous seasons he has had between 10 and 12, 13 goals in a season in the Premier League. The question is he's scoring these important goals right now, but the issue being is what if he goes through a Son period where he goes 5 games without getting a goal? That's going to hurt Fulham a lot more than Son not scoring well at Tottenham. That's hurting at the moment at Tottenham. But if he goes through a point where he can't score, it's going to be really detrimental to Fulham. So they're relying on him heavily, but so far so good at Fulham. Really, really good result for them against Brighton. And this is Brighton in a nutshell. This is what they did last season. They would get a great result against certain teams, and you think, oh, this is it. They're doing brilliant, and then they would lose to teams that you would think, hang on, how did that happen? It's inconsistency, and we're going to see it. We will see it from them. But yeah. And then finally, the Leeds-Everton game. Story of Everton's season so far. Score first, concede second, 1-1.
I mean,
2 points dropped.
Look at that. I mean, Leeds. I know that in the same way that we'll talk about Villa here in a few minutes with their game against Arsenal, this is utter desperation. Leeds is 70% possession, 14 shots. I mean, it's really the possession, the passing stats there that I'm not surprised, but you can see how they're lining up. Everton should not be playing this way against Leeds. If you look at just history and what they should.
The amount of money that they've actually been able to spend on this club.
Yeah, and I honestly, I'm happy for my American comrades over at Leeds, but this is the story of the entire game, doesn't it?
I mean, I would actually say that this is a poor result for Leeds. To be honest, it's not a great result. I think they'd have probably wanted 3 points from this match, and they are, in my opinion, two teams who are both in the same bracket in the league. They're both in that same bracket, but Leeds at home would have looked at Everton in the way that they played recently and said, "Do you know something? I think we should get a result against these guys," and they didn't. And that wasn't great. Leeds, as you can see there, 6, doing well. One of the sides that just needs to be looked at there is I always find the goal difference point is actually kind of indicative of where the clubs normally are. They genuinely level themselves out. We don't see a team above another with a really low goal difference. So Leeds is conceding point there, as we can see. Is it +3? They're doing well, but they're going to need to convert some more chances, to be honest with you. The Chelsea result was really positive for them, but they're going to have to try and find a couple more goals and leak a few less.
Yeah. I think you hit the nail on the head. They should be fine. I think Leeds will be fine in the same way that I think most of the teams that we kind of predicted. I think Brighton will fall off and that sort of thing. But Leeds are definitely overperforming for what people were expecting of them at the beginning of the season. So I don't think that they can be too disappointed with where they're at. But yeah, like you say, I mean, I make the same point as well from time to time, especially at the end of the season when we're looking at, if you look at the Premier League table at the end of the season, generally goal difference matches up with position in the table.
Position.
Yeah, generally. Of course.
Yeah, in general, yeah. It's not always a hard and fast rule, but generally that's how it will work out. And those who score the most generally, go up higher in the league. So, yeah. So, anyway, we'll go on to this evening's matches. Bournemouth Wolves, amazing result for Bournemouth since they've sacked Scott Parker. I know that this game was dead. I mean, as you can see, it is a poor match. Bournemouth defending for their lives. Doing what they needed to do. I can't say I watched this game, ladies and gentlemen. If you did, let me know, kind of see what you thought of it. But for me, Bournemouth getting a point out of Wolves, this is brilliant. They'd have taken this in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I'm curious, just so we can kind of take a look at it. Yeah, neither of us watched it. There's too many games on midweek, especially because they all overlap.
This is the unfortunate thing. They're all on within 15 minutes of each other on these midweek matches. So we weren't able to watch this game because we watched multiple different ones. And I mean, look at that. Wolves probably having the lion's share of the chances. Really disappointing result. But this is something we've pointed out about Wolves on previous shows. They're in trouble.
They're toothless, man. They don't have.
They're toothless.
Jimenez was immense his first couple of seasons in the Premier League, but ever since that head injury, I feel for the guy. I really do. I watch him for Mexico all the time. Obviously, I watch him for Wolves. I hope the best for him, but he's just not the same player. So,
we look at those chances there. They're putting those chances in. The problem is they're not finishing them. I mean, Wolves is. I mean, this is. I don't know. I mean, they played really well against Tottenham. I was full of praise for them the way that they played against Tottenham and got nearly got a point away from home and conceded to Spurs. but I took heart in the way that they got that result, or at least the way they played. Like it was improved performance. They were never expected to beat Spurs, but this was an opportunity for Wolves to kind of turn the screw. They've just been beaten 9-0. Let's get a result. Even a 1-0 puts 3 points on the board and everything looks rosier. But trouble for Wolves. Bruno Lage he's walking a tightrope at the moment, in my opinion.
Yeah, and he looked like he kind of had them settled, but even when he had them settled, it was always they're defensively very sound. And then the second half of the season, now they're scoring goals, but they're not defensively sound. It's like you got to find a balance. You have to find.
There's no balance to it at all, is there?
Yeah, you got to find a balance eventually. Neves nearly dug him out of a hole last week. I think they still ended up drawing because of a.
They dropped points to Newcastle, didn't they? Haaland said Maximan. Yeah, that's what I mean. It was, you took heart in the fact that this was again, this is Wolves. Good performance. Didn't beat Spurs, lost to them. Come up against Newcastle. A draw against Newcastle. Yeah, not the greatest of results, but ultimately, they probably would have felt like they should have got the win. They didn't. So yeah. Trouble at Wolves at the moment, real big trouble. Man City, I mean, Haaland, man, 6 goals, 2 games. He is absolutely flying, isn't he?
It's just ridiculous at this point, honestly.
Nottingham Forest, though, I mean,
they just don't know how to play in the Prem right now. They'll do okay.
I think they'll settle once these big games are out the way. They've had Spurs, they've had City, 2 big, tough games back-to-back against each other. They've rode the storm. What just needs to happen is focus and say, whether we lost 6-0 or we lost 2-0 to Manchester City is irrelevant. That is not a game that we looked at that we thought we will get something from. What matters is the next game and if we feel we can get something from it. So for Forest, I wouldn't be concerned. But Man City just look unstoppable right now. They look unstoppable. They're really finding their stride. Erling Haaland is settled like that, and the only thing that's stopping this guy potentially, and, obviously touch wood for him because obviously I wouldn't wish on anyone, is his own injury record. That'll be the only thing that stops him.
Yeah, and that's really all there is to it. I think that Pep is doing the right thing. He's giving him 70 minutes, 66, I think 73, 77 the other day. I can't remember when he came off today. But
it was earlier, about 60-something minutes, wasn't it?
Yeah, he's doing at the right. I thought we would have times on here. Okay, maybe not. Either way, he's doing it at the right times, just bringing him off, giving him the opportunity to score, his 4th or whatever, which is what Haaland will ultimately want, right? So he's also keeping the player happy. Interesting to see if he starts at the weekend. Really
yeah, I mean, I'm of the opinion that he will. I think he'll play every game now until the World Cup. And then he's going to get 5 weeks rest.
Maybe that's the thinking. Yeah. It's just hard to tell. But this is why I was saying I think it's very interesting, especially for any FPL fans out there. I obviously I didn't rest him. I kept him on because I knew he'd come on at some point and probably bang another 2 goals anyways. But I captained Salah, which was not a good decision at all. But this is kind of one of those things where we don't know how Pep is going to treat Haaland and keep him fit. But I think we're starting to see it's going to be a 60 minutes here, 70 minutes there sort of thing where he just keeps.
Well, he won't play 90. I don't see Haaland playing 90.
Yeah, unless they're absolutely chasing a game against Liverpool or something. It just won't happen. Yeah, looks unstoppable. Julian Alvarez, one really good finish. Didn't really see the second one because we were watching the Liverpool game. João Cancelo, very good.
Really, really good goal. Very good goal.
And then Nottingham Forest, you know who they remind me of? They remind me of a Fulham that's less settled. But if you were to integrate every player that they've bought, they have a better squad.
So, 100%. If Nottingham Forest have ridden the storm now, are able to just settle in, get these new players that they bought, all 855 of them, into the team. 18 players that they've signed. They've got a lot of good quality players there who are capable of doing a job. So I think as long as they're able to get them together, do what they need to do, I think I still believe that they'll be fine. I still think Nottingham Forest will be okay this season. I think they'll get things going, get some results, and then, kind of move forward from there. So Arsenal versus Aston Villa. Yeah, I mean, this was crazy. This game was Bill, to be honest with you, is like the final nail in Steven Gerrard's kind of managerial career, to be honest. But 2-1. What I saw most of the first 40 minutes of the first half. It kind of showed to me, I literally just missed the goal just as because it kind of came on just as the Liverpool game was kicking off. So I saw the multi-screen. So I saw the goal. Jesus getting a goal which was desperately needed, which he has needed, because if he doesn't score, Arsenal look quite toothless, and it was important that he did. So he got the goal, but there's just something, and this isn't me being a Liverpool fan going on and digging Arsenal out. I think Arsenal are doing good stuff, but there's just something like where I'm thinking, it almost feels like it's a thin piece of ice that if something breaks, it's not going to work. I don't know why. I might be wrong, but it's just the way I see it. Looks like it's working now, but only just.
I echo that. I almost think about like you're on a frozen lake, cracks, and it pops up, or like I don't even know. Like I'm just gonna use it, a polar bear standing on a piece of ice drifting through, the Arctic. And it's like they're winning, they're doing well, and there's a lot of positives. And I really like what Arteta is doing, and I really like what the Arsenal squad is doing. But this is not the game where you sink. I think they were showing signs that this is tough.
Just show us the next fixtures, mate.
Yeah. So it's going to be United next.
That's a huge test.
But then this is where it gets really rough, I think.
Well, that's a really tough. So yeah, where is it? United just there at the top.
I just wanted to see where. Yeah. So you have United. Forget about Europa League, but that is another thing, by the way, because they are going to have to rotate. And right now they have Xhaka and Lokonga, who are basically their backups almost. I know Xhaka plays with Partey. And Noel Nenny. So they only have a couple midfielders. If any of those get injured, forget about it. And they're going to have to play them in the Europa League away. So,
well, they'll need to, because they'll want to get out. It's not like they're in the Europa Conference League where it's like, well, it doesn't really matter. They're in the Europa League. This is a proper trophy, and Arsenal should be going to win this. This game against FC Zurich should be the full Arsenal team. Well, there should be no excuse. There should be no rotation. They should be playing to win this match.
It's not even that. They literally don't have players to play.
Exactly. There's no one.
There's literally no one to play. They have to play Lokonga, and they have to play Xhaka, basically. I think we'll see Vieira get his opportunity. Yeah. If he's fit, I don't know. I think I saw him training the other day.
And this is another big test, isn't it? This is another big test that they've got next week against Everton. Everton is a team which ultimately last season they absolutely thumped. He thumped Everton, but Everton was safe. This time round, the pressure is mounting and mounting and mounting on this team. And it's going to be a question for Arsenal's legs. Are they going to be able to cope with being 2 games a week more constantly, playing in Europe and playing in the Premier League at the weekend? This is where we're going to kind of put Arsenal and Tottenham in a head-to-head race now. We're going to put them in a head-to-head and say who copes better with Europe, which team is better suited to be able to play an extra game midweek and then play again at the weekend more commonly. I know that'll happen this weekend, and you'll say, oh, damn, well, that's what's happened in the Premier League. But then they're going to have to do it again and again and again and again, and it mounts up and it mounts up. And this is where we'll know whether or not Arsenal's team, which everyone back in January blamed for them missing out on the Champions League, is they're too thin. Their squad was too thin. Even though they brought players in, they've also sold players. They've also lost players in options as well. I still believe their team is paper thin. They have a couple of injuries in the wrong place. It all falls apart.
They don't have a backup striker. I mean, Nketiah is a backup striker, but you don't want him to start every game. And then Saka, they still have no backup for him. Pepe's not even there anymore. I'm just going.
Saka looks lost, man.
I mean, we've already talked about a lot of that. Zinchenko's out for now. I don't know how long that's going to be. El Nenny's going to be out for weeks. Partey, we don't know, or I don't know personally. We talked about the midfield and all of that, but it's so thin. It's paper thin. So United, just real quick, United versus Arsenal, tough game for both teams. a new component that they haven't had this early in the season, which is Zurich, a team that's fighting for their lives in Everton. They should win that though. PSV Arsenal, that's not.
And then another game, another one.
You know what I mean? And then this is not going to be an easy game. I know it's at the Emirates, but it's not going to be easy. Then you have Brentford away,
and then finally a break.
Well, they're going to be up for that, and then you have the international break where they'll get a little bit of a reprieve. But this, I think, we'll see a lot in this 5-game span here. So
that 5 games will say a lot about where Arsenal are, and they'll need to kind of not ride this storm, but they'll need to definitely ensure that they don't get any more injuries. No more concerns, because if you pick up anything with those extra minutes in the matches, it's going to be good. But yeah, Arsenal, good result. Aston Villa, though, big trouble. Really, really big trouble at the moment. It only gets worse. They play City next week. And, I mean, the question is for Steven Gerrard is, does he see the Man City game? Possibly. Does he see after the City game? Did the ownership say, those 2 games aren't the ones we make the decision on, but the performances will matter? That Aston Villa team looks lost at sea in every which way. They really do. The goal he scored was from a corner. That's the second time in just over a week that I've watched Douglas Luiz score from a corner. I also watched him score against Bolton, doing the same thing. Yes. He seems to be capable of doing that. But, I mean, those are, not flukes, but, one in 100 goals. You can't rely on that kind of stuff to try and get you in the game. But the biggest concern, and this is something which, if anyone who's watched Aston Villa, this is the 3rd time I've watched Aston Villa concede a goal within 90 seconds of scoring. I don't know how you do it. Once is unlucky, twice is foolish, 3 times there's actually clearly a problem, a huge problem.
No, 110%, and I mean, they weren't even close to it.
That, oh my days,
they weren't even close to it. That .30. I mean, I'm not really an XG merchant, but just to give some context, that's absolutely nothing. I mean, 22 shots, 9 on target, 4 shots, 3 on target. I mean, Gerrard's in a conundrum, isn't he?
Yeah, usually. I just don't know whether or not. I don't think it's the right team. I think Dean Smith is a very experienced manager who's been at Aston Villa for a long while, and it wasn't working. And that's why you bring in a new manager. But then you got a question as to whether or not who is the right manager. I don't know whether or not this is. I mean, this is it. Gerrard could be sacked, takes a couple of months away, gets a new job, and everything's rosy again. And they're playing good football and they're doing right things, and then it'll be a question as to whether or not it was the job or whether or not it was the manager. And I'm going to back my man and say ultimately I've watched Aston Villa play. I've watched them play games where I'm thinking they've done everything but score. Like the ball's being played into the right positions. The strikers are not doing their job. They're not scoring goals. Ollie Watkins has stopped scoring goals. Danny Ings has stopped scoring goals. So I don't know. I think his days are numbered, I'm afraid, at Aston Villa. But I think that this isn't just it's a Gerrard problem. There is a Gerrard problem, of course. But I think there's a big Aston Villa problem. I really do. Because these players are too good to be performing this badly.
It wasn't just Gerrard. Remember, they lost Grealish. When what's his face was still there. Yeah, bless him.
Well, yeah. So when they lost Grealish, this is something we said in our Discord and our chats. It said that when they lost Grealish, it almost feels like no one had a plan for when he goes. Like it was, well, has anyone thought about it? Grealish isn't here anymore, and they've kind of gone, no. And then, we'll put £100 million price tag on him. That'll keep City away. Well, actually, hang on, they've paid it. Oh, right. So what do we do? And they kind of got together and went. They went Todd Bowley-esque and just went, well, who's available? Leon Bailey, yeah, we'll buy him. Emi Buendia was good, yeah, get him in. Who else is there? It just seemed all over the place. It didn't make any sense, and there was no formula, there was no idea, there was no identity, there was no glue. I think that's what Jack Grealish was. He was Mr. Aston Villa, and the glue went.
I think honestly, I think you're being a little bit harsh there, and this is my reasoning. I think that they tried to fulfill Jack's role. I really do.
Yeah.
Buendia, Bailey, Traore might have already been there, but like they were doing little bits and pieces. But you just can't replace a club captain who is literally the essence and soul of your club like that. And I don't want to give Gerrard an excuse. I don't want to give Mike Dean an
excuse.
Dean Smith. I don't know why I just said Mike Dean. I never give Mike Dean an excuse.
Don't give Mike Dean any excuses. You don't deserve
any excuses. None of us would. No, Dean Smith. And it's because honestly, I just think he was that integral to the club. I think a little bit of the heart went out of the club, and I think they were trying to do the right things, and it hasn't been working. The managers still haven't done well enough.
The thing I'll say about Jack Grealish, and maybe if someone could correct me, I'd love someone to come out there and say, I think Jack Grealish was the closest thing to Steven Gerrard since Steven Gerrard was retired. Not as in player, but as in what he stood for.
Yeah, what he was.
Yeah, what he was. Yeah. He was the club. Like Aston Villa was Jack Grealish. Jack Grealish was Aston Villa. He was everything in one place. He was what could have happened to Liverpool had Steven Gerrard left. Say he'd left, went to Chelsea for £50 million, say 2004, 2005. Yeah. Liverpool then have all this money to spend, and 50 million sounds like not a lot in today's money, but 50 million bought you a lot of players back then. Would have bought you two £20 million players who would have been world class, top draw players. You know, Fernando Torres was £21 million in that period of time. So that gives you an idea of what 20 million quid would have bought you. Perhaps Liverpool went out, bought 3 players who were all exceptional, and Liverpool went on and did better things. But what if it went the other way? What if then actually they bought out 2 players who were meant to work out but never did? And I think this is what's happening at Villa. They're living out a situation where they've lost a player who was talismanic to their team, both on and off the pitch. And now they've tried to replicate him by bringing in players who are, you know, of his kind of style of play and you know, maybe what they can bring. But it hasn't worked. And that's what we're seeing. They look like a squad, but they don't look like a team.
No. They definitely don't look like a team. And someone who just stands for the club. I understand that was like a bad time for, I mean, even for Gerrard to leave, but like Rooney, he still stood for what the club was. I know he's, you know, a Liverpudlian, Evertonian, whatever you guys want to call him. But he still, to the very end, to the very last drop, gave everything that he had for the club. And that wasn't just about his performances on the pitch. That was the standard set on the pitch. Wayne Rooney was a notoriously bad trainer. Notoriously bad. Didn't want to train ever. Yeah. Not a day in his life. But then you see him score a goal, or not even score a goal, win the ball on the halfway line, play a forward pass, something gets intercepted, it goes back towards our box. He's back there, slide tackle on the line, wins the ball back, passes it forward, and scores a goal at the like. That's what United was, you know what I mean? And he was setting the standard. And I think at a certain point you want to go to a club like Villa. One of the selling points is you want to go there and play with a player like Jack Grealish. And we just went off on a major tangent there. But
no, it wasn't. It was just for us giving it a bit of context, because I think we all know where, unfortunately, this is heading. This is Aston Villa sacking its manager. We know this. I think if it doesn't happen, I'll be very, very shocked, because ultimately the performances aren't great, but the results are equally as bad. The results are equally as bad. Yeah, it just gets worse. I mean, look, I only see, forget City, right? There's 4 matches there, okay? Just go down. Leicester, Southampton, Leeds, Forest. Those 4 games for Aston Villa may as well be 4 cup finals. Genuinely. They may as well be 4 cup finals, because for me, they should win at least 3 out of 4 of those games.
Yeah.
But they have to. They absolutely, Leicester, rock bottom at the moment. They could lose their manager this week. If United beat Leicester tomorrow, Brendan Rodgers should be sacked. It's as simple as that. They're a team who lack any players. They've lost their best goalkeeper. Jamie Vardy's not doing his job. Fofana's now gone. Yuri Tillemans, who probably will be parking his Range Rover up outside any club that will take him, Udon Wingy style, because he does not want to be there. It's as simple as that. And Sumer, I don't think's happy. There's no one happy at Leicester. Leicester's an unhappy club right now. Southampton, I mean, Villa at home should be getting a result out of Southampton. Leeds, big, tough game against Leeds, but they're in the same boat, and they should be looking at this game and saying, we need to beat Leeds. And then Nottingham Forest will be their only reprieve. Is that will they somehow do what they need to do? So 4 huge games. After the City game, for me, the City game's a write-off. But those 4 games afterwards, they need to pick up 9 out of 12.
Yeah, no, 110%. And I think this really, yeah, I mean, you say forget about the City game. I think that they can say confidently, depending on how the crowd is at Villa Park. I think that, I mean, that Leicester game, especially if we slap them up. And then, I mean, you only have winnable games there. Leeds might be a tough one. Southampton, someone's giving them light, but I mean, this is surely if you don't get 6-7 points out of this, you're done. You're out.
Oh, yeah, he's gone. Yeah, and there'll be no excuse, like not just on him, but on the team. If they don't get, I mean, I'm saying 9 because that's me saying losing. I'm actually saying 10. I think they should go unbeaten in those next 4 games. They should draw 1, Leeds, and win the other 3.
Well, he might need to, is the truth. Like, but a loss and a draw in these 2. I think that's probably the end of him. Seeing how trigger happy, especially if he starts speaking out, because you know how he is. How Gerrard is, he'll start the
pressure is well and truly on.
He'll start getting mouthy with the media. So
100%. West Ham Tottenham. I feel do that one. West Ham Tottenham. Okie dokie. Yo, Flo, how's it going? You in Saudi Arabia? Well, happy days, mate. Brilliant. Nice to see you. We're going fully international. You have to let us know how you getting on over there, buddy. So West Ham versus Tottenham. I mean, this is a bad result, isn't it? Really for Tottenham. I mean, it's got to be. It's a bad result, in my opinion. This is exactly what I wasn't getting excited about Tottenham for when they were going on. Do you remember when I said your 4-1 against Southampton doesn't move me? Because of this. Because you're capable of this. You're capable of, 4 shots on target against West Ham. You're not creating good quality chances. The goal that you got was an own goal. It was an own goal, for God's sakes. You didn't even score as a team. And you're playing against West Ham with a front line that's capable of what? With Son, with Harry Kane, Kulusevski, Richarlison, all these great players I'm told are going to be, fit and firing. But where's the goals, man? Where's the goals?
No, 100%. And they look like a team that doesn't play. I mean, they clearly don't play good football. They just don't. Conte never has. But they don't even look effective. A lot of people have been telling me, well, they win the game. They won that game and they got over the line. And that's all well and good. But well and truly, a Conte team to me looks like a team that, yes, plays like a medium to low block, but also when they move forward fluidly and they actually create chances. That's not what they've been doing. They've been getting away with Harry Kane scuffing shots from outside the box, and somehow it goes and the keeper doesn't dive. Harry Kane doesn't even look like his clinical best. They don't look good. They don't look not just as a team. They don't look good as a Conte system, which is a difference that when Chelsea first brought in Conte after those first 2-3 games, when he switched it up and moved to the back 3 with the wingbacks, you could immediately see a fluid change throughout the squad. They don't look like that right now. And this is what I said weeks ago. Tottenham's season, especially the start to the season, will depend on how clinical their front 3 is. Right now, Kulu's not doing it, and Son is not in his purple patch. So they're relying on Kane. Today, even now, that own goal was, Kane crossing it or something. I don't know what it was.
Kane, cuts it back in towards Son, and it was an own goal, and it's just a really, really poor situation from Tottenham. Is that I was getting ripped to pieces because game week 1, when I said, well, beating Southampton 4-1 doesn't fill me with dread of, oh my God, this is it now. Tottenham are it. Like they're going to be second at one point. I was hearing people talking about. Apparently, Spurs are going to be ahead of Liverpool. Okay, well, what I see is I see a team that has come to West Ham. West Ham, who are devoid of any real kind of good feeling at the moment. They got a lucky win against Aston Villa from a very fluke goal. Otherwise, they didn't go anywhere near. Should Richarlison start, Flo? I mean, could it get any worse? I mean, genuinely, is Son doing anything that makes you feel like you need to have him? I don't rate Richarlison. I'm the first person to say that. I don't rate the guy. I question the whole motive of the price tag that was put on him. If you're going to pay that kind of money for a player, for me, that's a starting player, not someone to sit on the bench. But clearly, they're persisting with Son. Maybe the next match is the time to bench him. Maybe Son does need to be benched. Maybe he's become too comfortable at Tottenham, where basically, even when he doesn't score, nothing's going to happen because there's no one to replace him. Well, there is someone to replace him now, so he should be replaced. So, yeah, 100% Richarlison should start. Son needs to be benched. If he's not doing it, get off the pitch.
Yep. Yeah, 100% agree. And I'm going to pull it back to Annie's. Yeah, Richarlison needs to start. No, 100% mid-transfer window, not going to lie. Are you talking about Tottenham's transfer window? Because
Yeah. Everyone went so heavy. Yeah. Spurs have got this best transfer window. What? Jed Spence, who isn't going to play. He won't. Ivan Perisic, who's 36 years of age.
Yeah. No, he's no. I think he's
34.
Yeah, but he still can't play every game. So he
can't play every single match. He's not a starting left back who's going to be able to play 38 games plus the Champions League football. It's not going to happen. It ain't going to be there. Yves Bissouma for 25 million. Yeah, good price. Yeah, brilliant. But he's not going to be the difference between winning games and not winning them. He might be the difference between losing them and drawing them, but he won't win you the games. That's not what he does. So yeah, that is a good transfer. Richarlison doesn't move me. What 8 goals last season? His highest ever return was 13 goals. First season at Everton. That was 4 years ago.
I don't hate him as a replacement for any of the three, though. That's the one thing I will say. They overpaid for him 110%, but Everton were desperate and they wanted someone to back him up. But he can play.
I think that Dele Alli money came involved.
Yeah, maybe so. Yeah, but it was just one of those. I just don't. You know what I mean? It's just I kind of get it, but even then, it's not like that's not a top tier transfer. That's not something that you go, oh wow, that's gonna work out.
They've transformed the team. That's the way people were talking. They were talking about Tottenham. We're going to go from getting just getting fourth last season, to going on to challenging for the title or getting second. Where are they getting 20 points extra from? That's my question. They're not going to do it, and this is what they're going to suffer from. Tottenham will suffer from this time and time and time again, that they do not have players who are capable of being clinical match winners every single week, or 80% of the time, shall we say. Tonight cost Tottenham. This has cost them. It nearly cost them against Wolves. They got the 1 goal that they needed. There's a number of times where they're teetering, where they'll catch a win, they'll get a 1-0, but there'll be plenty of 0-0s from Tottenham this season. I think they'll have at least 3 or 4 0-0s this season.
Yeah, no, I think they'll have plenty of them. And honestly, I don't see a whole lot of losses from Tottenham, but I also don't see a whole lot of wins. I see a lot of wins, but we're talking. I don't know what kind of happened to teams last year, where a lot of draws, kind of iffy sort of form, and I don't think Champions League helps them any more than the Conference League or Europa League would have. Last one from Flo. West Ham could have snatched that game in the last minute. Yeah, so I wasn't actually watching it. A couple other guys we were kind of glued to the Liverpool game. That's what I was hearing, and it doesn't surprise me because I was watching after that Soucek goal. I took a couple glances at it, and Tottenham went back into their shell. And I mean, I know it's at the London Stadium. I know it's not home for Tottenham, but that's just not good enough. We were talking about how poor their football is, and what do you expect? I mean, that's
they came up against Nottingham Forest last week, and we were all surprised and we were all shocked that I can't believe that Nottingham Forest came to play the exact kind of football that Spurs want you to play. Nottingham Forest should have started that game and said, there you go, have the ball.
Yeah.
Have the ball. We don't want it. 0-0's good for us. We'll take a 0-0 right now. We don't need to score. You need to score. You need to win. Because remember, you're the Champions League team. It shocks me that they were so naive. As they are a naive team, Nottingham Forest. We'll just go on to that. That I was shocked that Nottingham were taking the game to Tottenham. They should have played Tottenham football. Yeah, have the ball. You have it, and we'll counter you. Yeah. We'll just keep countering you. That's it.
We know you can't break us down. Like, we know you can't break us down. I mean, look at this here. 62% possession. That is Conte's worst nightmare.
Yes.
Possession of the ball.
The ball.
Yeah.
Look at the passes. Look at how many passes there is. 619 passes.
Versus shots. I mean, like, the efficiency on possession is outrageous for
They're doing nothing with the ball. They're doing nothing with it. They're not They're having as many shots, if not actually having less shots on goal than West Ham did, with 50% more of the ball in respect of its actual percentages. 50% more of the ball are not doing anything with it. And that's the point. And the goal that they scored was an own goal. This was a day that Tottenham got a draw, shall we say. They achieved a draw. This was not a good result. So I'm not digging out Tottenham. I'll respect them when they do things that they should. But this was not a great result for them. And people should not get carried away. And I think people not start needing to question, like I was last season, that Conte, oh, this is Conte. He is a world-class, exceptional manager. Start proving it. You have the capabilities at this team. Start doing it, because that is not a world-class result.
Yeah, I'm not quite as pessimistic as that, but I do look at it, and within the first few games, we've had this conversation and we agree. It's just, it's not good enough. It isn't. No. They've been getting the results, so people have been giving them a pass, giving them the bye, but it's not good enough. Like, sometimes eye test does matter. Sometimes you don't just look at the results. Sometimes you go, Manchester United got second 2 years ago with no crowds, and the football was dire.
Yeah.
And anyone could have told you, if it carries on this way, next season, once teams pick back up their form, it's not going to go well. And guess what happened? The form didn't pick up, and we were dead. And
reality came and hit hard, didn't it?
Yeah, it's like sometimes you just have to watch football for what it is and forget about the stats. And yeah, I don't know, man. Like, there you go. But the big one.
This was karma. It was a karma game in the word. This was Jamie Carragher. This was a karma result. Liverpool this was the back end of probably what has been a very tough 5 football matches as a Liverpool fan, as a Liverpool player, and as Jurgen Klopp, probably the toughest 5 games. To be honest, really, really tough with the situations that have gone on. Not just the injuries, Darwin Nunez's red card. This was something which was kind of the slip up. This was the banana skin that we faced, and Newcastle did everything in their power to disrupt this match, to turn it into a situation which was where football was not going to be played. And thank God that the football gods decided to shine their big old grin on us and say, you're having one today. Fabio Carvalho, 98th minute goal. Absolutely fantastic scenes. I mean, as you can just see, just from the statistics, just looking there, 23 shots. We had 6 on target. The defence was deep. It was full-on terrorist football. It was the full-on situation from Newcastle. Defend for your lives, attack on the break. But we'll go through it. We'll go with how things started. Liverpool controlled the play for the first 25, 30 minutes. Were doing everything that they would have what I was wanting them to do. It was everything I expected. Newcastle were tight. They were defending deep. They were working as a unit. You know, they were doing everything you would expect. But what was kind of become prevalent around about the 30th minute, I think it was, Diaz was the first opportunity where we had a really good chance. Firmino plays an absolutely fantastic ball through the middle. Diaz runs onto it, kind of what Mane would, used to do, run onto that one there. And just unfortunately, he had to go high. There was two defenders, between him and the goal. He had to try and go high to get in the top corner to have any chance of scoring. He just misses. And I said to Jesse when we were watching, that's more like it. We're trying to open in the door. Within 5 minutes, Liverpool concede. And this was again, unfortunately, I'm afraid, it was Jordan Henderson's fault. It was Jordan Henderson's fault for his role in what he is expected to do when this situation occurs. So Virgil van Dijk goes to Miguel Almiron. Miguel Almiron's got the ball. He pressures, Van Dijk's pressuring him. Henderson's role is to drop in and replace Van Dijk. His job is to do his position when he's doing what technically should be the midfielder's job now, pressuring the player in a further up advanced position. Henderson has the ability to intercept the ball, makes an absolute hash of it, and puts it right into the path of Matty Longstaff, who then, at this point, Henderson's flat-footed and allows the pass to be played, loses his man, which is Isaac. First debut goal, really well taken goal, to be fair to him. Really, really good chance. But he should never have had the chance. He shouldn't have had an easy as chances as what he did. And completely lets the ball bypass him. 1-0 to Newcastle. And this was one of those days you think, oh my God, this is how it's going to be. So half-time comes around. Second half, it kind of gets better. Liverpool start knocking on the door, but then we start seeing the games being played from Newcastle. Players going down with cramp at 55 minutes. Players going down with this. Goalkeeper taking every single opportunity to, slow the game, the ball, holding it. Bounce the ball, move to the edge of his box, kick the ball down. It was everything you could to get that 7 or 8 seconds. And they mounted up, and it frustrated Liverpool. It frustrated the game. And then it got to around the 65th minute, and then Liverpool were really starting to get involved in the game, really starting to kind of do things. We saw some decent chances, and then Salah starts to show a little bit of what he's capable of doing and what he's going to be able to do. Plays a lovely little pass into Firmino, takes it first time, bottom corner, 1-1, fantastic. 30 minutes of the game to go, and we were kind of thinking, right, this is it, we're going to push on. And for the next 5 minutes, Liverpool did push on. And then, unfortunately, for the next 25, the game was interrupted more and more and more with the injury, the line on the deck. Everything was taken full well advantage of it. Cheers, Flo. Take care, mate. Good night, buddy. I know it's late over in Saudi.
Yes.
So, we got there, got what we needed to do. And then, somehow, last kick of the game, basically. Corner comes in, pinball wizard going on. Salah, there's a shoulder, there's a head, I don't know what it was. And then Fabio Carvalho comes on and absolutely clutch goal. And the rest is history. Great result, fantastic result in the end for Liverpool. Darwin Nunez's red card is over, done and dusted. 6 points out of 9 for where he's been suspended. He's got away with it. I'll be honest. Darwin Nunez has got away with not costing his team too dearly, because if we drop 2 points in this game, then it would have cost us a lot. He would have cost us an awful lot in this, but he's been rescued, and he can thank those players, Fabio Carvalho most certainly, for that situation. So I'm really pleased. What did you make of it from what you saw, Jesse?
Awful game to watch. Not because of any certain thing. No, like the ending, was electric, wasn't it? But the way Liverpool were playing, having all the impetus put upon them was disgraceful. Nothing was happening. You guys didn't look like you guys were going to score the entire game until the screw started getting turned. Right? Yep. It was about 4 or 5 minutes before you guys scored your first. Isaac, well taken goal. Also the one that was just marginally offside that he took. Yeah. Good finish. We'll see if Annie is even watching right now, but I might have to eat my words at some point. But I still don't think he's worth that price tag. Time will tell. I think that this was the game most suited to him. Out of any game in the Premier League, it's you guys in City. And maybe United, to be fair, because we do play a high line. But until that happened until we started seeing, well, it looks like Newcastle are kind of losing their legs here. It looks like they're slow down. And then you can see that ball in behind to Salah, and he played it off, and it came back to Diaz and Salah and tried to play it to Henderson. Things were starting to happen. Things were starting to happen. And within 5 minutes of what you said, and I was like, yep, now I'm seeing it. Bang, goal. Right, Bobby, right there. And then, the next 10, 15 minutes, Newcastle, like, I understand why they do it. Sometimes I wish that my team did it. United hasn't been good at gamesmanship since Mourinho left. So I understand there's a place for it. But when you're doing it for 60% of the game, it's so jarring to watch. It's so annoying. And that's why I said at full time, that is the football gods. 110%. 110% saying, you know what? You're taking the L tonight. You're ruining people's, I know the Newcastle fans were loving it there on the sideline, right there by the corner flag, as what's his face and the rest of the defense is defending. But guess what? Newcastle is also one of the only teams in the league, if not the only team, who sticks you right up in the top of their stands.
Oh, yeah, they put your away fans right in the top. They're European style. It's like when you go to Barcelona and you end up in a box right in the top of the pitch, literally in a glass cage.
Behind, nets and stewards. Yeah, no, go F-U-C-K yourself. To a certain respect, you're sitting there with all your Swedish flags and all that. You're wasting time the entire game. I understand that this is the game that you got to play when you go to Anfield. I get it. But when your club shows so little class in the first place, then show some class on the pitch. And I just had enough of it. I by the end of the game, I was like, Newcastle are playing this correctly. They're doing the right things. But by the end of the game, justice was served.
Even for a United fan, even you're sitting there going, I can't watch this. This is not what I'm not here for this.
There was an instance on a throw-in where 3 players went down with cramp. That statistically makes no sense. How can 3 players out of 11,
all professional footballers,
all go down with cramp at the same time? And then they're kind of looking at each other as they're stretching out. It's like, I thought I was supposed to go down first, and you were second, and you were third, right? And no, we all went down. Oh no, blah blah blah. Then Pope in the 93rd minute goes up against Van Dijk. Van Dijk goes up to head it, isn't going to get it, goes like this, and Pope comes down and goes, my shoulder.
Yeah, the full-on number, yeah.
How am I going to recover? How am I going to
recover? The whole works of it. But listen, I understand it, but this is the thing. And Liverpool, this is wonderful. The 9-0 was electric. It was fantastic. It was brilliant. But this was more important. This result was more important because this was when everything's going against you, when the team you're playing is doing everything it possibly can to interrupt football and not play football, just run the clock down, they're playing the clock. You get that result. You get your 3 points. You get your extra 2 points. Everything looks a little bit more rosy. Jota starts training again tomorrow. Fantastic. Darwin Núñez is available for the weekend. Brilliant. Curtis Jones is back in the team. Wonderful. He's another option. Joel Matip's now back on the bench. Brilliant. We've now got a new option. Someone who can come in from the centre back and run the lines, run the channels, and how good he was last season. Brilliant. We've got Everton at the weekend. I mean, it's going to be something else. I can't wait. I literally can't wait for the derby this weekend now. Really, really can't wait for this match. And we're going to look at this game and go, do you know something, boys? Look at that. That is the thing that galvanizes the team. Results like this galvanize the team. They're the ones where the players come into the changing room and it's high fives and everyone's, everything's going now right for you. This is it, boys. Look what's happening. We're Liverpool again. We're not beaten until the whistle's gone. We've not lost the game or drawn the game till it's done. And that's that belief we need. And you just start getting that feel-good factor around the club, and that is what I'm seeing. I'm seeing that now, and this result was like the icing on the cake. This was brilliant. Up against an unbeaten Newcastle, one of the only teams still unbeaten in the league, now beaten. Yeah. carrying on that great record. I believe we've beaten them 27 times now, or something like that at Anfield. There's some silly statistic that Liverpool have won, like beat Newcastle every game. So brilliant result. So yeah. Anyway, I'll stop waxing lyrical. Let's talk about this one.
I think we talked about it the other day. The only thing I want that plays into what you're saying, though, it's the same thing. I understand that it was Southampton away. You saw what Chelsea did, performed really poorly, to be fair. Southampton had their day. But I just want to bring that up. Since we beat you, and then you guys went and did what you needed to do against, who did you guys play against Bournemouth?
Brentford. Bournemouth, sorry, 9-0.
Smashed them, and then you guys did what you guys needed to do tonight with a meaningful performance. I think Southampton was very much the same. Manchester United cannot keep a clean sheet for the life of them. If we see another result here, it's kind of the same thing, just a little bit. I'm just saying, keeping things taking over. The in a lot of ways, us getting the result at OT against you guys was a lot like you guys absolutely smashing Bournemouth 9-0. Yeah. It's just
it's great. It's brilliant. You take it for the context. Mm-hmm. You know what Liverpool are. You go, yeah, we beat Liverpool, and we know the injury situation. We know they're not playing well. But we took advantage of it. Like Bournemouth, we took advantage of the situation.
But the next game is
the next match
more important. It's way more important than that.
The bogey team, Southampton away. We don't do well here. We never do well here. And look what happens. Yep. We didn't play well. We didn't play well, but we won.
Yeah,
but United won.
And the clean sheet. Now, if we go to Leicester and get a clean sheet, we're in a really good position against Arsenal, especially if we have like certain players come in, new players that we bought come in, and they look like they're clicking right away, and things are taking over. That's what I'm looking at, and that's kind of just what I wanted to point out, because you were talking about Liverpool. And it's very similar, just in the general sense of what's
it's the psychology of football. This is the psychological side of football. It's when you sit there and you go to it, look at a result that you think, well, 9-0 against Bournemouth. How come you didn't win 4-5-0 in this game? Well, the context is the difference is what you're looking at. We played against Bournemouth and everything worked perfectly for us. Everything we wanted to do happened. This wasn't like, oh, we blitzed them. Just everything was right. We scored some brilliant goals. Liverpool scored great goals in the game against Bournemouth. These weren't tap-ins. These weren't like, oh, here it is. I mean, Trent Alexander-Arnold's goal, 8 times out of 10 doesn't even hit the target. You know, Harvey Elliott, his goal, fantastic. 10 times out of 10, you could say that doesn't hit the target because it was such a well-taken goal. Luis Diaz with his header, fantastic. But how many times do we see them go over the bar or straight at the keeper? It happens. You know, these weren't like, oh, yeah, jammy little goals, you know what I'm saying, or all penalties. They were great goals. Fabio Carvalho's goal, I mean, straight on the volley. How many times do we watch a volley go straight to Rosette, even if it's in the box? Everything worked out for us in that game. Tonight was a completely different challenge. We came up against a team who had a mindset to interrupt football, to play a style of football that was not going to work, that was not going to complement Liverpool, and Liverpool overcome it. This was a much bigger and more important result than the Bournemouth game, massively. Were we good? No. Did we cope well with not having the midfield options that we need? Not at all, because we bypassed it. Constantly, Liverpool bypassed the midfield. They played a defender to attacking pass every single time because they didn't want to put the ball into the midfield, because every time we did, what happened? We just passed it backwards or sideways. Nothing happened. So we had to start making moves. Harvey Elliott, I'm going to put another thing. He was the difference. A 19-year-old kid was the difference. The passing, the range that this young man has got is fantastic. When Pep Linders said, we've got some of the best young, talented midfielders in Europe, I'm starting to see what maybe he can see. Not as a Liverpool fan, but I can see what he means. There's passing range in there that if that can become more consistent, it's going to be the difference. It was the difference tonight. with what he could do. We need to keep him fit. But Liverpool, just as a final thing, need another midfielder. It's as simple as that. We need somebody.
Yeah, or two.
Or two. Well, yeah, two would be beautiful, to be totally honest with you. But I'm not going to get it, am I? But anyway, listen. I'm going to wrap it up. Just done an hour and 10 minutes. Really appreciate everyone who's dropped in. Annie, Flo, anyone else who's been watching. We do really appreciate you. Thank you very, very, very much. We'll be back on Friday, doing our big weekend preview of the Premier League results. So Premier League games that are coming up. So just join us for that one. We can't wait to see you there. Champions League kicks off next week, everybody. So Monday's show will be more predominantly looking at the Champions League matches. So we will do our Premier League overview. Going to be a bit of a kind of a rattle through kind of situation there, and then we're going to take a good look at the Champions League, see what we can see there. Some big matches going on there. Liverpool, City both play that week, so we're going to be with you on that one. So anyway, thank you very, very much. If you've enjoyed the show, please put a like on for us. Please subscribe if you would like to. We are doing brilliantly with that. We're on our road to 300 subscribers. We hope to get there by the end of September. Please help us to get there. Subscribe, be part of it, be in early. We'll go into 1,000. So be part of it. So anyway, we will see you on Friday. Thank you very much. Take care. See you later. Bye-bye.
Ciao, people.